Aloha! Hey, it's Julie Ziemelis for 365 Hawaii and 365 Hawaii Group from Keller Williams Realty, Big Island, and I'm here with Amber Haley from Real Broker, and we are going to be talking to you guys today about the East Hawaii housing market. I'm going to tell you guys, we are usually, if it's this early in the month, sometimes we wait till the second week of the month because the statistics are a little more solid because they've had more time for the March sales to be recorded. Mm-hmm. So we're going to give you guys this information, but knowing that we just changed our MLS system, right? And also it's a little bit early in the month, but we have an idea, big fat idea of what's happening because Amber is living in that space every day of her life. So go ahead and tell them what's happening in East Hawaii.
All right, so in East Hawaii, I am working with a lot of buyers right now. So I am seeing a lot of property, particularly in the Puna district, some of those popular neighborhoods like Hawaiian Paradise Park and Ainaloa. And I am sensing like there is a lot of people really hesitating to sell their house right now, so we do still have pretty limited inventory. So I'm also seeing people price their houses really high. So there are some of them that are just not priced right and they are sitting on the market. I'm seeing a lot of new construction being priced really high as well. I have a lot of buyers that are interested in it, but a lot of them are sitting on the market because they're still overpriced. So I'm still seeing price reductions, something we talked about last month. Yeah. Usually 1 or 2 on those ones that are priced too high, and then when they're priced correctly,
then they go.
Yes, then they'll go. Then there'll be some interest in them. So let's talk about the stats that we do have right now. So in East Hawaii, we like to talk about the Puna district and the South Hilo district. Most of the sales happen in the Puna district, so we'll start there. Okay. Median home prices for the month of April is $345,000. So that's a slight decrease, just over 2% decrease from what we've seen before. So not major, but we are seeing the market go down, the median value go down a bit. Now, if we're talking about the South Hilo district, so kind of Hilo proper, think of those neighborhoods surrounding like Hilo Bayfront when you guys head over there to East Hawaii. The median price right now is, or at least for the month of April, was $430,000.
Which is
quite a bit lower than where we were April of last year. You want to guess what it was April of last year?
$525.
Oh, that's pretty close. $550.
Hey,
actually. So we've dropped even lower than that. So that's almost a 22% decrease. Now, if we look at year to date, the median price is $485. So when we have more of the data, that's what we're looking at for South Hilo, and $340 for the Puna district. Okay. Again, keep in mind, so I say this a lot, but it's really important. In the Puna district, we have risky property and homes and lots for sale and parcels in really risky lava zones 1 and 2. So the price point in those lava zones is significantly lower than when you get to lava zones 3 and up. So if you are watching this and you're thinking in your head, okay, I have $700,000 is my budget for a house, or $500,000, and you're listening to me say, well, in Puna, the median price is $345,000. Now, that does not mean that that's kind of like just the average price you see, because there's just so many neighborhoods there. There's a lot of real estate for sale there compared to other parts of the island. And so there's a lot of data compiled there that includes those lower price, less valuable property. And the property is less valuable, obviously. If you watch a lot of our updates, you probably know when there is a lava hazard, that makes it a lot harder or impossible to finance and to insure as well.
And then you have to come in with cash. And you have to come in knowing you're taking a risk with your cash.
Yes. It is harder to get insurance. It's more expensive. In Lava Zone 1, they did up it from being able to get $350,000 insured to $450,000. Oh. But still, there's a lot of properties that are listed more than $450,000. Yeah. Not to mention, do we have lava that flows on this island still?
Yeah. In fact, we had, I don't know, 100 earthquakes in the last 2 weeks up in Kilauea.
Yeah.
So they're thinking that Kilauea might, shake herself loose a little bit again and have a eruption in Halemaumau crater. But when there's ever something that's happening in Halemaumau, you never know if something's going to go out into the East Rift Zone.
You never know. And it is interesting timing to hear everybody talk about this and speculate about this. Again, like, we do not know what's going to happen. Julie and I do not know.
We're not professional geologists.
We are not geologists. We are not volcanologists.
We just watch YouTube videos.
Yeah. And even the volcanologists don't really know. They can take, educated guesses, but nobody really knows what's going to happen. But it is interesting because this very week, 5 years ago.
5 years ago.
She thought it was 3 years ago.
I know. Time goes like this.
Time flies when you're having fun on the big island of Hawaii. Yeah. But 5 years ago, I was living where I still live, but in the Puna district. My house is in Lava Zone 3, but I am maybe 10 miles from where the eruption happened in a neighborhood called Leilani Estates. Right. So for those of you at home who have heard about these lava zones and have heard about these volcanoes, and you want to know, like, is that really going to happen? I'm not really that worried. I have buyers who especially aren't from the Big Island who call me up all the time and fall in love with property that's in those riskier lava zones. And they say to me, oh, I visited, like, it looks so lush and green and beautiful. Like, I'm just really not that worried about it. And, 5 years ago, this week, there were people living in their homes, and earthquakes were happening like crazy, and they put everybody on high alert, but there were people who went to work in the morning, and they couldn't get back into their house later in the day because lava had taken over their street.
Yep.
So
it can happen.
It does happen.
Right.
It will happen.
It's funny that, on Facebook, they give you those memories that come up. And so 5 years, again, I thought it was 5 years ago, on like May 1st or 2nd. What happened was lots of like little crazy little tremors were happening. But if you remember, Halemaumau crater was becoming higher and higher of a lava lake. Mm-hmm. And I remember Eric and I went with the kids, and there's 2,000 people down there watching the lava lake come up. And then the next day it went like, whoa, like a giant toilet. And I wrote on my little thing, I said, Madam Pele, where is all your lava? And then all of a sudden it started coming out through all the cracks in Leilani's neighborhood and exploded, and the whole thing, and boom, that went on from May like 2nd or 3rd to like all the way to August 1st or 2nd, which was great. At least in the scheme of life, it was a short eruption because it only lasted 5 months compared to Kilauea that had gone for 30 years. And that's why the break right now that we're getting in the caldera, it is a break because ever since just in the last 3 or 4 years, it's gone on and gone off and on and off and on and off. I know 3 or 4 times. So eventually it will erupt again. And when we're talking about, well, how bad is it? It's like, well, Leilani Estates was built on a lava zone that had previously been there in 1950. Mm-hmm. And everyone kind of forgot that was a lava zone, and a bunch of trees had come up, and they thought, oh, it's lush. How nice is this?
It's gorgeous.
And if you look at what happened with the eruption in Leilani Estates, it almost followed almost the same thing as the 1950 flow.
Yeah, it is interesting. Leilani Estates is a neighborhood in the Puna district that was built directly on the lower East Rift Zone of Kilauea volcano, which is one of the world's most active volcanoes. So just to I know like people find this really interesting, and people find it kind of like hard to believe when they're looking at real estate, especially if they are living an ocean away maybe right now. But I'll tell you guys a little bit of what it was like to be a homeowner and live through that. So, civil defense and the government, like they, put out alerts as they could, but this stuff was happening so fast in real time, that, to be honest, most people were getting the fastest, most accurate information from Facebook. Hi, Facebook. Somebody watching on Facebook right now. There were people out in the neighborhood that found the lava first, and they were Facebook Live, just like we're on Facebook Live right now. And there was just a lot of uncertainty. People didn't know where the eruption would come up next, if it was going to come up in a Lava Zone 3 neighborhood. I mean, just because you buy a house in Lava Zone 3 does not mean the eruption can't occur there. So then, of course, there, as the internet does, it got a little crazy, and there was speculation, and is this a new crack? Is that an old crack? Because the earth literally cracked open.
Google it. And steam was coming out first. And then all of a sudden, lava started to come out, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And this was all happening probably within the course of like a 3 or 4 mile area, or even shorter than that.
I mean, I would have to look at a map, and there are maps on the internet that will show you exactly that eruption. But I think my house is about 10 miles. And for that entire eruption, every night the sky glowed orange. I mean, so when you're asking if this can really happen, I mean, every night in the house that I owned where I was nervous, just like everyone else, the sky glowed orange. If I walked out to the cliffs by my house, I could see the top of Fissure 8, which was one of the biggest fissures of lava. I could see the lava.
Wow,
the
that's
lava
cool.
fountain.
I love a good geological event. I just don't want it next to my house.
Yeah,
So, in fact, when they had Mauna Loa erupt, we were able to go out in front of our house right here in Kona, and I walked out and I looked that way, and the sky was orange. So now I know what that's like. And thinking that we were in Kona watching the sky turn orange, we thought, oh my gosh, is it right there? And so the whole level of what's happening, how fast is it going to go? But that one, yours has turned out to be 700 people lost their homes.
Yeah, I think the number was about 800 structures, so maybe 700 homes.
Yeah.
So, it is a reality that, especially in East Hawaii, I mean, there are definitely parts of West Hawaii, where we are filming from right now, that are obviously at risk from lava too, but it is a big part of living in East Hawaii. So it is something to be aware of.
Yeah.
It's also a really special part of living there. I'm not trying to come here and be doom and
She's
gloom.
actually, I paid her to talk badly about East Hawaii, so you guys will buy in West Hawaii and use Eric and I.
She wants to work with you, but I want to work with you too. But we do have a lot more houses to buy over there.
And you know what you do, and it's also less expensive. So you get this and that, right?
Yeah. So if you guys are gonna watch Lance and his market update for West Hawaii later, pay attention to his median prices, because I can guarantee you, I'm not gonna spoil it, even though I have them in front of me right now. But they are a lot higher than $345,000.
That's for dang sure.
Or $430,000. I have not seen a number that low for the South Hilo district in quite a while.
Okay, so get this. Can I speculate on statistics on this one?
Yeah, let's speculate away.
Okay, so let's say that for a few months, some of those higher price Hilo homes were going, right? Mm-hmm. So houses that were the nicer ones, 600, whatever, 100, whatever. Then a slew of people looking for more of the affordable priced ones, because the interest rates had gone up. Mm-hmm. So more people are buying lesser priced homes than some of the maybe more expensive homes, dragging that price down. Could that happen?
I mean...
Or they're buying everything because there's lack of inventory across the board.
I mean, there is lack of inventory. Everything is going eventually. Like I said, a lot of it's just overpriced still. The numbers that I just talked about, there were only 14 homes that sold in South Hilo.
Okay, so
in the month of April.
So that's only not a lot to pick from.
14 single-family homes. Yeah. Now, compared to a year ago, there was 24. So there's just a lot less real estate being traded right now across the island.
Yeah.
In the Puna district, there were 71 single-family homes that closed in the month of April this year.
So it's boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
And what was the year before that on that?
103.
Wow.
So quite a bit less. Which is a trend, and something that I think we should expect this year.
Yeah, because sellers aren't selling because they're sitting on their 2.3% financed homes, right? And in fact, I've talked to a variety of people here on our side, and this one woman, she would love to sell her house, but she said, financially, how do I even pencil that out? I got this mortgage for 2.2%, and she's only paying $1,200 a month to have a 3-bedroom house in Waikoloa.
Yeah, it's so true. I can relate. As somebody who bought my house, I closed on my house early 2017.
Oh.
So I had a really low mortgage rate, and I won't even tell you guys what I paid for my house because you'll be jealous because the market is so much higher now. But I'm also I'm one of those people that I've thought about, maybe I should sell my house, but it just doesn't make sense for me, and it doesn't make sense for a lot of people, because what would I buy?
Right.
My interest rate, all of that. So I do really understand. I mean, there's so much going on in the world, so much going on in economics right now.
I know.
It will be an interesting year, but
Yeah.
people are holding on.
Yeah. In fact, I think the only people that, and again, I'm just saying, from the people I talk to, because we have a lot of retirees over on this side, I see a lot of downsizing going on, because it works with you downsize. You sell your house on the mainland for pretty good money.
Yes.
You take your cash, and even if most of the people are buying either with cash or they're putting some of the cash aside and getting a mortgage and using part of the cash, kind of a thing. But when you're going to something smaller, at least it's not a lateral move where you're walking away from your 2.3% mortgage and then getting almost the same house just someplace else. Now you're paying 7%, whatever, 6%.
Yeah.
So if you are coming to Hawaii and you do have cash in your pocket from selling your house, it's still a pretty good time to buy.
Yeah, I mean, cash is always king. Yes, and then you don't really have to worry about your rate. I mean, rates do affect the market as a whole.
In general, yeah.
But yeah, I am getting a trend that I have noticed personally as an agent in East Hawaii is I am getting a lot of investors coming to me at this time.
Oh.
So not people looking for their single family home, people looking to invest in either rental properties or flipping houses.
Oh.
So that will be interesting to see, you know, what happens if they, you know, we go into a recession, you know, what's going to happen. But I am getting a lot more investors than I've ever gotten before. I think people who have maybe been on the sidelines trying to invest in Hawaii are you know, trying to see if there's opportunity, if there's going to be opportunity. But again, you know, looking at the median prices, they are going down, but it's not like...
No, it's not going down. I mean, like not like crazy. Yeah, because again, we have demand.
We have demand.
And we have lack of inventory. And I think the reason why some of the sellers, because now that I've had a few, this is what their thought process is. Well, if there's not a lot out there, let's price a little high because somebody who just wants to get into the market might pay it. And then they let it sit for a little bit, and then they go, maybe no one's coming. And then they have to lower the price a little bit, and then more of the buyers jump in because they know what the comps are in the area.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and the good ones are selling very quickly because of such a lack of inventory. If there's a good house, there are certain neighborhoods, especially in Hilo and East Hawaii, where just nothing goes on the market. I mean, the homes often stay in the family for a long time, and so when something goes on the market, it really can, they really can ask a high price.
Yeah. Now, are you seeing multiple offers?
I am still seeing multiple offers. Nothing like, you know, during the pandemic era where it was
14
really
people
discouraging.
Jump on it.
But yeah, no, I am seeing multiple offers when stuff is priced accurately, and I have had to get strategic with offer writing again. You know, I've had some sellers be kind of picky when they do, you know, even if they just have like 2 offers, they're like, like really excited right now, you know, thinking they got in on what it was a year ago a little bit. But yeah, I am seeing it a little bit. Yeah.
Okay. There you go.
Right.
Eric, is there any questions? How are we doing? And also Eric Ziemelis is here with us today.
Yeah.
He's our behind the scene cameraman.
Oh, I've got one for you. Okay. What about vacant land sales and availability?
So there is a ton of vacant land for sale in East Hawaii. You have a lot of parcels up toward an area we don't talk about that often, which maybe we should start talking about, is toward the volcano area. So our higher elevation.
It was funny you say that. Because some people you say in the volcano area.
Yes, we'll be more specific.
And give them a little bit of the geography on how that goes, too.
Yeah.
It's away from the ocean.
Yeah, so some context, yes.
Right.
So when I say volcano, you guys are all picturing like lava erupting volcano. So there is a part of the island where it's called volcano. It's actually a lot less risky of a lava zone. Most of the real estate there is lava zone 3. So it is close to Volcanoes National Park. The climate is quite a bit different than the Hilo district itself, and then a lot of the rest of the Puna district that's closer to the water. So it's a lot cooler. It's a lot rainier.
Is it 4,000 feet?
Yes. Your elevation goes up and up and up as you drive up the highway from Hilo. So 45 minutes up from Hilo town itself is a place called Volcano. It's really charming. It's a great place to spend the weekend if you live anywhere else on the island. If you want some cooler,
spend the weekend.
Cooler temperatures, some hiking in Volcanoes National Park. But there's a lot of vacant land up there and in between there and Puna and Hilo. And the prices range quite a bit. So it would just really depend on what neighborhood that you're looking at. Some of the parcels are really, really remote. They would need to be for ideally for an off-grid property, or you're going to be paying a lot of money to get like a power line put out there. So there is a lot of real estate for sale. So contact me if you want to know more about vacant land. I can tell you right now. Let's see if we have an average price on here. So our median price, for the month of April for vacant land, I'll just tell you how cheap it can be, is $37,500 is the median price. Now, if you're looking in a neighborhood like Hawaiian Paradise Park, you're not going to find anything for that price.
It's like 75 now, isn't it?
Yeah, it's gone up so much. But I mean, that is very affordable.
Yeah. Okay, wait. We talked about this before. When you say affordable, it's affordable to buy.
It's affordable
I don't
to buy.
get to talk about developing it.
Yes.
Remember we talked about bringing in the backhoe and the leveler and getting your access to your property and everything else. So just because, look at you guys behind us, you see this? This is undeveloped land. We've got 12 acres right behind us from our neighbor, and it's all covered in trees and scrub, and it's on a hill, and it's got lava and everything else. Even, I don't care where on this island you think you're going to start trying to build something. It's expensive.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So just keep that in mind, because we do get phone calls from people saying, oh my gosh, I found this acre of land for $37,000. I can put up a yurt or whatever the heck, right? And it's like, well, did you figure out how you're going to drive in?
Yeah, a lot of things that I hear a lot, and they're great ideas, and some people can execute them beautifully, but, I hear a lot like, oh, we can just put in a yurt or a tiny home, or,
container.
just a container home. I hear that a lot.
Yeah.
I've seen one really well-done container home on this island, and the guy the contractor on it did a great job, and he is retired. And I do not know another contractor who does. If you find one, let me know.
I have not heard of that.
But another, that brings up a good point there. It's also hard to get quality work done quickly here on the Big Island. We're just limited with resources and with contractors, and they're busy. And so if you're coming from a different part of the world or a different part of the country, your expectations should be a lot different coming to Hawaii. Just in general, it's going to be more expensive. It's going to take a lot more time.
Right. So if you have decided to be here and you had to work on building a home, that means you have to live someplace else.
Yes.
And there is the rental market's still pretty tight, right?
It's tight.
Yeah.
I don't think that's going to change for a long time.
Yeah, because we just don't have a lot of people.
Housing crisis.
Yeah. So,
Okay,
Erica,
so
got a question.
Couple questions. Jamie asked. He was the one who asked about the vacant land. He says, I want tropical and off grid for sure, so that would work. And then he says, what's the average acreage for 38, right? And then there's one more that we can just kind of lead into, and that is, and this is Sally says, what's the median price for 1 acre undeveloped lot in HPP?
So a 1 acre undeveloped lot, yes, you said, about $75,000. It would depend on the location in HPP, but the last time I checked, there is absolutely nothing below $65,000. I didn't run the numbers today, so that's an estimate. But you used to be able to get a lot in HPP easily for $37,000 when 6 years ago, when I first got my real estate license in this state, that was the going rate. Yeah. Now I'm seeing, for if you're close to the water, over $100,000, and usually that's for less than an acre. For your and whoever asked this question, if you want to contact me directly, I could set you up on listing alerts or just shoot you a list of exactly what's on the market right now. But you're going to be looking at 65 plus for a 1 acre uncleared. And to clear a parcel in HPP right now, depending on who you hired, but for quality work, that's going to run about $12,000 to $16,000 just to clear the lot. So.
And if you guys are watching any of the new homes they're built in HPP, somebody went in there and literally wiped the slate clean on a lot of those acre lots.
Yeah.
So you're building the houses on basically completely uncleared land, and now that means that you have to landscape. So that can cost money as well, because if you're trying to do a planned landscape and you don't want just the weeds to take over, that costs.
Yes. Yeah, so what I have been told by builders is it's just more cost effective for them to come out
and just wipe it
and level the whole lot. It would be nice, but that would probably be a person building their own custom home,
where they can pick and choose to figure out how to do it.
Yeah, where they can leave some of the native ohia and all that, but most of that new construction you're going to see, and it's kind of shocking to people who aren't from the Big Island. I work with a lot of buyers who are relocating, and they're just not quite used to that look. The look of the bare stripped lot, and it's usually a red cinder. I think that's also just the most economical. Leveling gravel. I'm not a contractor. So that's typically what you'll get. You'll get a cleared lot, and it'll usually have red cinder on it. And what you do in East Hawaii in most of these types of properties, if you want to landscape, and most people do, and stuff grows fast, is you haul in dirt. There's more than one good, company you can buy soil from, and they'll bring it in, and you landscape on top. And there are some, really fast-growing plants, and you can have a beautiful tropical oasis on that lot. But you're starting from scratch, and it's not free to landscape.
No.
So that is something to budget for.
No, in fact, one of our people in this group, can I mention their names? No. Okay, there's long-lasting people in this group. You know who you are. They are. they just are closing escrow on a house that I helped them sell, like today.
Ooh,
Yay,
congratulations.
And they are buying, they're already in escrow on a house in HEP, and they've got that cleared old land out going on. So the closing gift that Eric and I are going to give them are fruit trees.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah.
So that because they have to now start with nothing on the landscaping. So when they start learning more about the nurseries and things like that, they're going to go to. I'll start putting it on our group over here on Facebook, so people who are thinking about buying can know the nurseries that are reputable and also kind of get an idea of what it costs to re-landscape the front of your house and around it and stuff. So
yeah, absolutely. Looks like we have another question.
Sally has another question. She says, how much is an HPP near First Street, which is down by the ocean?
Near First Street. So if you're looking at like a vacant parcel, those that I've seen lately have all been like over 100,000.
Okay.
Now a house, like a new construction, so there was one on Beach Road that was listed at like $855 ballpark for a brand new construction. I believe it was on half an acre, so some of those parcels get smaller the closer that you get to the water. So it really depends, because like we talk about a lot, even with the new construction, not all of the properties are very necessarily comparable to each other. But on average right now, I would say in HPP, you're like 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom, not on First necessarily, just anywhere in the neighborhood, kind of really builder grade, not like super luxurious fixtures and all that. Those are mostly being listed in like the lowest I've seen is like upper 4s to 5s and 6s, and then I'm seeing some of the more custom new construction listed. I think the highest one listed right now is about $755, but I'm seeing low 7s, high 6s, low 6s.
Okay,
Yeah.
and then Jamie says, in the Volcano area, what's the price per acre there? He was saying there's like 1 to 5 acres there or something, but most of the spots aren't that big.
Yeah, so in the Volcano area, you are going to be able to get a lot for, generally speaking, and usually more acreage for a lot cheaper than Hawaiian Paradise Park. So, but
there's a reason.
Well, some people love the climate there, but the climate is very different. It's a very different place to live than Hawaiian Paradise Park. So you just need to be aware of that, because I have sold people property in the Volcano area, and we're not ragging on Volcano. I love Volcano, but I said it's a lot rainier here and cooler here, and they were like, fine, great, we love it. And a year later, it's too rainy and cold here. We're moving somewhere else on the island. So it is really different than Hawaiian Paradise Park. It is, if you live all the way up toward Volcano and then maybe down deep into one of those neighborhoods, you're looking at a farther commute if you're going to Hilo.
If you have to go anywhere, it's hard.
And there's not a lot there. Like if you want to go out to eat, there's just not much. Going on.
Yeah, and of course it's less expensive because there's not much going on. If you're looking for that kind of space, look up Fern Acres, Curtistown. The inventory has always been very low in Curtistown, but that is an area to look. Like the Mountain View area is like great. Right. There's a lot of like farms out there and agricultural properties. Sometimes we see great listings come up with acres and acres and acres. They usually go really fast. If you are thinking like, what does that median $37,500 buy you? You could probably get something in like Fern Acres, Fern Forest area, maybe like a 2-acre parcel there, as opposed to Hawaiian Paradise Park, where it's going to be a lot higher. Right. And then of course, if you go down farther south in Puna to those other neighborhoods like Hawaiian shores, beaches, parks, the price can get even lower. Right. So. Right. Yeah. And I think that there's there's places actually in Volcano proper that, again, because Volcano proper actually has like restaurants, and because the Volcano experience, if you can get a piece of land that's already been cleared and already has been like at least some develop on it, I think it's worth the extra money to have somebody else who's already done the work for you. Because I've seen some undeveloped land in Fern Acres, and it's just you got to find somebody with all the heavy equipment to go out there and make it turn into something you can work with.
Yeah, and I can recommend some people to you. I do know some people who are really reputable with land clearing, but they are very busy. So, you know,
There's
you
a-
gotta
yeah,
get
there's
on their calendar.
Yeah, there's a lot of building going on in
Yes.
that. In
Yeah.
Okay, so the next question is kind of tying this back over to the west side here, right?
Okay.
And
Okay.
Jamie says, what about vacant land in the cloud forest? You told me about.
Oh, the cloud
Julie
forest.
would probably be able to answer that more than anybody.
Yeah, so the Cloud Forest is in the Coloco neighborhood, and there's an HOA there that basically makes it you have to buy 10 acres.
Depending on
Right,
down.
which elevation. So actually up inside the Cloud Forest, it's like 10 acres. And then further down, it's more like 5 acres, right? And then they have a site review committee that you basically have to have like 4,000 square feet under roof.
Oh, no.
What is it?
No, it's you can only build on so much.
You can, but you have to like have like you can't buy small homes. I mean, you can't build a small home there. You actually have to have, and
Yeah.
it's in the CCNRs that you have to have a certain amount of square footage under roof. They call it, right? Yeah. Well, and Eric, they're throwing from the side here.
Yeah, well, but also part of it has to be kept natural too. You can't graze all that.
Yeah.
You can only there's a certain amount of percentage, and I think it's probably less than 20%.
Yeah. Well, there's some in the lower part of Coloco, like where Lance lives, that isn't an Ohia forest. But the further up you go, the more that you have to say that you will not tear down the old growth Ohia. That you have to build like your house like 10 like far enough off the road that no one can see you to be able to maintain that nice little happy look that they've got going. And so.
And estimates, I think, are around 400,000.
So $400,000 for
5 or 10 acres.
5 to 10 acres.
I did show a property, you know, it might have been a year ago even, but it was like a true like amazing one of a kind property, and I think it was at the very, very, very top of Coloco Mauka up there. So for those of you who don't know the geography of the Big Island really well, if you've maybe like flown into the Kona airport, the Coloco area starts about 15 minutes right up the volcano from the Kona International Airport, and then you go up and up and up and up into the cloud forest
At 4,000 feet. Yeah. So the cloud forest probably starts around 2,000, 1,500. Well, a little bit 17. Yeah. And then you can go all the way to the top, which is 4,000, and that's cold and rainy, and you know.
Yeah, it's very, you know, a lot of times if it was clear, you'd have a stunning ocean view, but you know, the clouds roll in usually in the afternoon.
After 10:30 in the morning.
Yeah, after 10:30 in the morning. So that's the cloud
And you know what? You
forest.
don't really have that great of a view of the ocean in a lot of places because it's densely forested.
Yes, yeah. The property I showed was 20 acres. And it was huge and magical, and I believe at the time it was listed for like $4 million or something. It was a very unique property, but yeah, just very, very, very different than what you'd find over in East Hawaii, and much, much more expensive.
Right, and also some people have ideas of coming here and buying 10 acres, let's say in the cloud forest, and then putting up 4 or 5 different houses on the same piece of property. It's not zoned that way.
Yeah.
And trying to get a parcel split. Eric and I have a friend that was trying to cut his 10 acres at least in half to be able to sell it easily. $30,000 in 2 years.
Yes, yeah, it is when you're going through the county planning department and working with county permits, you can really get caught up.
Yeah.
And that is why probably we see, especially me over on my side of the island, so much property that's lacking county permits. But the Big Island of Hawaii, to my knowledge, it seems like the direction they're going is trying to crack down on that type of housing that we
Yes.
see.
What's it called? Rogue housing opportunities.
The rogue housing opportunities.
Yeah, because people were just being able to go out in the forest and basically pop up whatever they wanted to, and they want now. They're saying, you know what, we need to like rein this in because there's so many people coming over here trying to do it. Now's the time to do it. But I'd say that if you are thinking about trying to buy a home, Eric and I actually are going to be speaking to a gentleman that sells raw land in the Ka'u and far, like in the Volcano District, Andrew Madrid. And he's got some very interesting stories, some tips and tricks about trying to, and also the realities of buying some raw land in that area down there, like Ocean View and Ka'u and
great.
stuff. So
Yeah.
Brad, who's been watching us, says that he's looking right now and he sees no vacant land in Coloco right now.
Yeah.
No vacant land for sale. Yeah, that's not surprising. That's one of those neighborhoods that it's, you know, when something comes up, it's pretty rare. I
Yeah,
guess.
yeah,
People
yeah.
stay.
And that's another thing too. That's land now that's being passed to different people that they know, because they want to make sure that it stays in perpetuity. And also, you guys, seriously, it's a very unique person that wants to take care of 10 acres of virgin Ohia forest. And I have friends up there that actually run the Cloud Forest Sanctuary, and they run tours on part of the land. They're doing a sound bath in the front yard of this other woman's house, and they're trying to figure out how they can make the land work for itself. But it's very difficult because you can't use a lot of the land footprint to create a lot of things that you could be doing to make money off of it.
Man, there are so many unique things about real estate here.
Yeah.
Like, you know? It's so interesting. Oh, you know what? I did post and get some questions from social media from some of you guys. And one of the questions I got was about, you know, speaking of Cloud Forest and all that, was does it really rain every single day in Hilo? And it does not. It is one of the rainiest cities in the entire country.
The world.
In the world. Yeah, it might be the rainiest.
I think it was named.
Yeah. Anyway, it does rain a lot. The annual rainfall is quite high. I can't think of the number off the top of my head. But it's a lot. But there are also a lot of sunny days. And I just kind of like to talk about the rain in East Hawaii too, because there is a misconception often that wherever you live on the Kona side, it's going to be really dry. And you're talking about the cloud. We have questions about the cloud forest. It rains quite a bit at the cloud forest, quite a bit more than some pockets of the east side where, you know, it's so rainy. So it really, really just depends. We have so many microclimates on this island.
Yeah,
so
and elevation plays a very key role. In fact, Eric and I were talking about the fact that our first house that you guys used to watch us do this from is a mile that way. And it actually is a lot drier. And we're almost at the same at 700, right?
Yeah.
And then behind us, as you guys can see all the green, it's been raining like constantly.
Yeah.
And so we're getting actually more rain and more like of this trade wind blowing experience than just a mile down the road. So it's that's why I think, if I could say it again, it's so important for you guys to come and actually put the boots on the ground.
So Brad says it varies depending on where at Hilo, but an average is 200 inches a year.
I thought it was 200.
Brad.
Thank you, Brad. Brad's the key here.
And then kind of going back to our other conversation, Jemmy says, speaking of permits, are those properties that have buildings without permits, does that make it a cash deal? Or how does that work?
So generally speaking, like if it's a house, and I have sold some of these that have absolutely no permits, like it's basically a land deal. Those are all cash. I mean, there are some creative way. I call it like creative financing. Like I've seen people like take out a home equity line of credit from another property they've owned, which basically makes them a cash buyer. You know, that's not a traditional mortgage. It's a creative way of financing.
They're not using the house as collateral.
Yes. There are some ways if it's going to be like agriculturally used. There's like agricultural like financing you can get that's kind of like a traditional mortgage. But in general, like all cash. Sometimes a construction loan. I've never actually closed a deal on this island with a construction loan. They're kind of doozies. Yeah. So it's not something that I see successfully used that often, but that might be an option on some of those properties. But yeah, generally speaking, like all cash. Now, there are some homes that have some parts that are, I like to call them unpermitted. So for example, maybe they built a lanai and they didn't pull county permits, or they enclosed a lanai and made a sunroom or something like that. Now, if just kind of depending on the property, if it's done in workmanlike quality and this or that, and there's way more that is permitted on the property, sometimes it's not an issue for the appraisal. But it is always kind of a risk going into the appraisal. How is that appraiser going to look at that property? Are that, you know, that probably won't count toward the appraisal value, but maybe it'll still be financeable because it is in workmanlike quality. So, you know, there are some ways around it. You know, I could say personally, my house has a little bit of unpermitted, and I was able to finance it with a traditional mortgage. So it's not so cut and dry, but generally speaking, you know, if it's like, there's some crazy properties on this island that look like I built them.
Yeah. wait. Let me ask you. Okay, first of all, there's always a concept that your neighbor could turn you in, and the county could come in and close you down and tell you to rip something down.
Yeah, I mean, that is something. I started my real estate career in Southern California, and that was like way, you know, like when you heard no county permits, you just knew like some hammer was going to come down on you. Now here it's a lot more lackadaisical. However, if you guys are investing in real estate, that's a huge purchase. You need to know these things. Like we cannot guarantee you just because they're doing it. It's been done this way for decades. Nobody really cares. They don't really have like the capacity to you know, crack the hammer like they do in Southern California. That doesn't mean like that. You know, it
doesn't mean the hammer's not coming here.
So you really, really need to understand what you're getting into if you buy a house.
And
like
then,
that.
how about if you say, okay, I bought this lanai that was unpermitted. How hard do you think it is to now try and get the permit for something that's been built?
You know, from what I have heard, it can be quite expensive, and most people who like start going that route are like, oh, never mind, like not really worth it. Okay. Especially if it was like done in workmanlike quality and they were maybe able to finance the property. Now again, I am not a contractor and I do not work for the county, and this is just things that I have heard. A lot of people. Contractors have said to like some of my clients, or inspectors are like, I don't see why you'd really bother at that point. No. So if it's really, really important to you to have fully permitted, I mean, this is going to be so specific to the property. So these are generalizations. This is really, really important. I would probably recommend buying something that already has it in place.
Yeah.
Because you just don't know.
Right, and you also don't want.
Then you bring it to the county's attention, and then it's maybe.
Yeah, then
maybe
they'll say,
tear it down.
Yeah, right. That's a safety issue. You need to take it off.
And then when you start pulling new permits on an old house, then all of a sudden you might need to bring other things up to, and then you're just opening up a whole expensive.
Yep.
Okay, this is just a general real estate question, and it says, what does it mean when a listing says contingent?
Oh, that's a great question. So when a listing says contingent, that means it is currently under contract with another buyer. So that house is probably gone. Sometimes properties go under contract and do come back on the market because it falls out of a fun thing called escrow. So yeah, that's what that means. It's just a fun word.
How would they fall out of escrow?
So usually the main reason I see properties fall out of escrow, usually it will happen in the first 2 weeks during the inspection period. So for most real estate transactions for like a single family home on this island, there is a contingency built into the Hawaii State Purchase Contract that allows for most deals 14 days after acceptance of the contract for the buyers to do all their due diligence. And so usually there's a general home inspection and they look at all the different things. And so generally if a buyer is going to pull out, and that it's usually a house usually falls out of escrow, usually on the buy side.
Right. Within the first 2 weeks.
Yes.
And that's also, just so you guys know too, that when you have to put earnest money down, you can get that money back 100% if you get out while that inspection process is still happening.
And what is earnest money?
And earnest money is basically good faith funds that show the seller that you actually have some skin in the game and put some cash down. Usually it's around like $10,000, at least here on our side of the island. Is it that much there too?
So usually buyers in East Hawaii will put down 1 to 3%, usually 1%. And then when the market, if it looks like a competitive situation or you just want to write a stronger offer, oftentimes if it looks like we need that, I might recommend to my buyers to consider putting down a second earnest money deposit of maybe another 1%. After they have signed off on the inspection period.
Oh, there we go. That's in fact, I was in the situation just recently. We just did a $20,000 one. So the key here though is that sometimes if you're working with a seller, a real estate agent, and you see that the house that you loved so much just went contingent, sometimes you can ask your agent to see if they can be the backup offer.
Yes, yeah, to be a backup offer, or at least check in on that one and express interest. Just keep checking in with that agent to see how it's going, to see if they made it through, what contingencies maybe they have left, see what information they can get about it. I will tell you, I bought my house after it had gone contingent with another buyer.
Oh.
I have had clients that have been the third and fourth backup offer and gotten the house. So it doesn't mean it's gone, but usually it does. So, keep looking. Another time that it often falls out is another big contingency that we have in our escrows is financing. So if something happens, usually with the buyer's financing, that can be kind of a more 11th hour fallout, and that one's a real bummer.
Yeah,
for everybody.
And that happened to one of my friends recently. The house didn't appraise.
Yeah, and the appraisal, maybe the buyer lost their job. Maybe they did something to their credit. Unfortunately, maybe they rang up the credit cards too early before closing. You don't want to do that.
Don't be buying cars and running up credit cards.
Or changing your
of
job
escrow.
or quitting your job. Yeah, don't do anything during escrow that would change your economics, your credit score, your income, your employment.
Because they pull it again right before you're about to close escrow. The lender goes in and makes sure that everything you said 30 days ago is still true today.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And Mr. Lance has shown up.
Okay, we got one more question.
One more question.
Jamie's got a lot of good news here. She says, if a person submits a backup offer and the buyer likes it better than the original, can the seller switch?
So I've heard in some other states that there are some crazy rules about this. So no, when you're under contract with a property, no, you can't just take the backup just because you want to. Now, if you start doing stuff like that and going outside of the contractual legal agreement, that's when lawsuits can get involved. So
Right.
I suppose in theory you could, but you're getting the buyers who are under contract with you could come after you.
Right. And think about how you would feel if that happened to you, thinking that you were under contract with a buyer. That's just unethical behavior too.
Yes. So that might be different if you live in a different state, because I have heard people talk that way that, where I live. I don't know if that's fully true, but no, that's not a thing here.
Right. So if you're under contract, you're under contract. Stick with it.
Yeah.
Is there any other thing? Okay, so we've actually had a pretty lively conversation today.
Yeah.
You guys have to come and see. So
You guys
are we still live?
amazing. I couldn't turn it off on my way over here. I was just trying to do the show the whole way over here. Great information, man.
if you guys don't know, and you should obviously know that that's Lance. He's going to be with us next. But we were also going to do, we're going to turn this off. That way it goes to YouTube and it's its own little thing. And then we're going to turn it back on just for the people in our group to watch the three of us have a little chatty chat. So stay tuned. We're going to turn this one and we're going to turn it right back on, and we'll be right back. And for you guys over in YouTube land, thanks for joining us, and thanks Amber for giving us all the information about East Hawaii. And if you are looking for information about East Hawaii, say, boy, would we love a pure video while you're touring East Hawaii with Amber, talking about the neighborhoods while we're talking in the car, a la James Corden and the karaoke.
Yes,
thing.
ask us for it.
Yep,
We'll
so
make it happen.
we'll do that for you. Okay, aloha.